Alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us all Muslim, and part of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave Muslims guidance in terms of worldview and lifestyle, and how to look at the world and look at the issues in the world. The world is filled with problems, which is the nature of time and space. When anything comes into time and space, there will be problems because of restrictions and barriers and hurdles and so on. So the mindset that the Anbiya, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, want to develop is very important for us to understand and realize that, sometimes a good approach, a good attitude, a world view of how to handle situations is now what is called al-mafhum al-Islami, the Islamic concept. Those values then will help us navigate ourselves in life. Life is full of problems, as we've mentioned several times before. But then there will be, as I mentioned last week, there will be two very distinct situations for man. One is that he is being tested, and then the other is that he is not being tested and he's living okay. So that I referred to that in the ayah at the end of Surah Hadid, and this is a continuation of that mindset and that world view. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ajibtu min sha'nil mu'min kulluhu khair," that I am amazed and in wonder about the affair of a believer. Every affair of a believer is khair. So now, how can it be khair? Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, have a positive approach to life. But is this now only when things are going good, or is it also when things are not going good? When things are going good, you can say have a positive attitude. When things are not going good, then what's the meaning of that? Okay. So he disciplined the Sahaba, he trained the Sahaba to look at issues in the world through the lens of good morals and values. That's number one. Number two, then through the lens of Tawheed, that you believe in Allah and that Allah is doing this. That is the Aqidah. But with the Aqidah, there's a value that we must appreciate. So there are two values that are mentioned in this hadith. One is the value of sabr, and the other is the value of shukr. So you have sabr on one side and shukr on the other side, and then that's how you're going to create an equilibrium in you, so that you're not, whining, complaining all the time, frustrated and angry, and then you're not, aggressively flamboyant and arrogant and boastful on the other time. Okay. So how do you do this? Okay. So this is a way to develop mental health for the Muslims. So mental health doesn't mean that you don't need guidance when you are happy, you do. And mental health is that you don't, overstate your problem when you do have a problem. So the Prophet ﷺ said that in أَصَابَتْهُ ضَرَّةٌ فَصَبَرَ فَذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ, that if any difficulty falls upon the believer and he is patient, then that is good for him. meaning the patience is good for him because he will be rewarded for that difficulty. So what you do, you have a positive attitude towards the problem. Yes, you try and solve it, and you prepare for it, and you try and get rid of it. But the value that you bring in this situation is patience. That I am obligated to be patient when Allah is testing me. To the degree that the Prophet ﷺ said that even if a small thorn pricks the heel of a believer and he is patient with it, he is rewarded. So now, since in the religious mind, and this is where we, overplay our religiosity and we become holier than them. The Prophet ﷺ said that you must now be patient if any difficulty comes upon you. You wake up for tahajjud, or you read Quran, and you do all this khair, and you give sadaqah, and you attend the masjid, attend the halaqah, and you attend all the classes that you can, but you're not patient. Right? The wife doesn't cook the food properly, you scream at her. You're not patient. That's not religiosity. Then you're not a man of deen, because you haven't brought the deen into this situation, which is micro, right? You're having problems with relatives, or you're having problems with your in-laws, or you're having problems with people, or you're having problems at work. So the Prophet ﷺ said that in sabara, if he is patient, then that is good for him in the sense that he will be rewarded for taking on the difficulty and managing the difficulty and then remedying the difficulty. So many steps, so many processes. What the mindset should not be is whining, complaining. People get angry and frustrated at the drop of a hat. Right? Tea is not good, that's not complaining. The traffic is bad, he's not complaining. The weather is horrible, he's not whining. Meaning that this attitude is not in line with al-mafhum al-Islami. In the Islamic concept, your mindset and your worldview should be that Allah is very pleasant and He wants Muslims to create pleasantness in times of difficulty. Then you can say, okay, alhamdulillah, I'm a good Muslim. You do all this good stuff, amal and all of that, as I said, tahajjud, Quran, umrah, dhikr, you do all of that. But something goes wrong in the house at the micro level, and then you're fluttered. Right? You don't know how to handle yourself. You're angry. And when you're angry, you don't know how to be angry. And you start hurting yourself and hurting other people. So where is the Islam there? Islam means that you have a worldview that supports your Islam. When you don't have patience in your portfolio, you're not a good Muslim. You're not a good Muslim. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Because you're not balanced. You're not balanced. You don't have taqwa. Because you're not following the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to, follow all the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in your food, in your dress, in your mannerisms. But when it comes to sabr, you don't follow him. So what kind of Muslim are you if you don't follow the Prophet? Have you looked at the difficulties the Prophet went through and the difficulties the Anbiya went through and the Sahaba went through? And difficulties are going to be there. The attitude you have to, number one, managing the difficulty, that is of sabr. Taking care of this difficulty, there's another reward for that, inshallah. So that first thing, is that if you want to be a healthy Muslim and you have a mental health that is positive, then you must develop, inculcate sabr in you as a worldview, as a mindset, as a, what do you call it, an internal faculty that I have to be patient on all occasions, all occasions. And then Allah will test you. Every day He's going to test you. Every day He's going to put forward in front of you a trial and say, okay, let's see how you do this. Let's see how you manage this, and let's see how. So I'm saying is that one, is that sabr then is a huge weapon for us to ward off now Allah's anger and Allah's ghadab and so on. The Quran says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ. Seek help through sabr. Now what does that mean? How do you seek help from sabr? Okay, my car is now total, and how do I now manage this with sabr? How do I seek help with sabr? It's a tall order, because not every human being, in fact the trend in the US is to whine and complain as much as you can. That's the trend. That's the normal mindset that you get when you go to school, college, work, anywhere. You're just complaining, whining all the time. That's all you hear. For the Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said that if he is patient, that is khair. So he's now transferred the potential evil into good. So that is what prophets do. They convert realities. They change one to another in a very special way. But that requires that you have himmah, you have determination, that you have tolerance. All of these values come into your ability to be patient. It's a strength. Sabr is what? A strength. That the Prophet ﷺ said that what do you call it? كظم غيظه وهو قادر على إنفاذه. That somebody who swallows his anger and is able to execute his anger, then what did the Prophet say? I mean, here there's some a subordinate of yours, he made a mistake. Okay. Now you have the prerogative as his superior to vindicate and punish. And you can show your anger. But the Prophet ﷺ said, no, man kadhama ghayduhu. Whoever swallows his anger, that requires strength. That requires immense resistance and determination and willpower. That I can now slap this guy or I can't. You have the ability to do so, but you don't. Then mala Allahu qalbahu imanun wa nur, and the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mala Allah jawfahu, Allah will then fill his vacuum with iman and nur. That's the ajr you get, that's the reward you get, that's the khair you get. Okay? So every time you get angry about any silly little thing or a major thing, and you're setting up a wedding, everything's going wrong. Right, as happens in weddings. Everything's going against what you want. And you're angry, you're frustrated, and you're tired. And now what's the solution? The solution is sabr. Okay. People come in, and now obviously some of you will have no idea, okay, my relative is hurting me. Do I just make sabr, or do I take revenge from it? Follow the Prophet ﷺ. Don't bring in your logic. If you bring in your logic, that's against the Sunnah. Do what the Prophet ﷺ said. Be patient. Kadhama ghayduhu. Swallow your anger. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. So this is sabr. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Allah is with the one who are patient. If you want to be with Allah, then be patient. If you want to be with the shaitan, then show your anger. So shaitan is with you when you're angry. He loves the idea that you're angry, that you flip, and you complain and you whine and so. But when you don't do that, who's with you? The vacuum that you have created by not executing your anger is what? Allah is there with you. Allah is there as your companion. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Allah is with those who have patience. So Allah is there. Then what else do you want? You want Allah's company, or you want to be roaming around, smashing your head against the wall, kicking everybody who comes into your vision, and then making sure that everybody hates you because you're arrogant. Nobody likes you when you're arrogant, okay? And whining all the time, complaining all the time. So I said that ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah, that seek help through patience. Patience is a weapon. You should use it against your complaining and all of that. So now this is one sha'n, one approach, one world view, one state of mind of the Muslim is that he's always in the state of sabr. So that is critical. Now, if you want to go into some more detail about sabr in the academic sense, then when we use the word sabr in Arabic on 3 occasions. One is that you have sabr ala al-balaya, that you are patient when difficulties befall you, when difficulties come upon you, when problems surround you, then you are patient. So that is the patience we're used to. We're used to using that word patience here in these cases when there are difficulties and you're calm and you want to navigate the problem and you don't want to whine and complain. So that is sabr in that sense. The other meaning of sabr that's used in the Quran and Sunnah is a sabr anil ma'asi, restraining yourself against sin. So then you need willpower, determination to say, I'm not going to commit sin. That's where sabr now is a weapon, it's a shield. That you have to use sabr to ward off evil. So that's a huge power, huge ability, huge ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you want to be patient against committing sin. You have now self-control. You're in control. Your temptations, they're not in control. Your personality is not in control. You are in control, that I want to restrain myself against committing sin. That is another meaning of the word sabr in the way the Quran Hadith uses it. Okay. So that is how we see that now this is how you're going to develop your mental health. That if you want to be healthy mentally, then make sure you don't fly off your top. Make sure you don't release the anger, and make sure that you have enough determination to ward off evil. That is how you see now the ni'mah of sabr. So the Prophet ﷺ said that if something befalls a mu'min and he is patient, then that is good for him. Ajibtu min sha'n al-mu'min, I am amazed by the affair of a mu'min. Kulluhu khair, everything is khair for the mu'min, the believer. And that is how the Prophet ﷺ developed the Sahaba, developed all people around him, that they were patient with each other. That is how you have now a healthy community. If you don't have a healthy community, then what you have what you have. La hawla quwwata illa in the USA. You have a very angry community. You've heard of road rage? When does road rage come into your system? When you don't have sabr. Have you heard of violence? Killing, mugging, homicide? Have you heard of rape? All of these vices are rampant, prevalent in the US, more than any other country in the world. These are all effects of not having sabr. So it's a world view. It's a remedy that the Prophet is giving to everybody, that if you want to be mentally healthy, as an individual and as a community, you must develop sabr in you, And you must now develop sabr in other people. As in Surah Asr, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. That they enjoin each other towards sabr and patience. That encourage people, and together, all of you as an ummah, to have patience and sabr, and have some willpower, determination, self-restraint, and all of that. Okay, so that's one component towards a healthy Muslim with a healthy mindset, with no mental disorders. So impatience is a mental disorder. It won't help you. It will confuse you. It will make you a very, very evil person eventually if you don't take care of it. So you have anger management. Why do you need anger management? Because you're not patient. And everybody has anger problems. Okay? Everybody, not because of their anger, they abuse their family, they abuse their siblings, they abuse their parents, they abuse their children. They abuse everybody on the planet because they don't have sabr. So that is why the lesson we gain from the Prophet ﷺ, which is called hidayah, guidance. What is guidance for? The guidance is for us to reform ourselves based on the Prophet's advice. But this only comes when you give up your idea of being holy and religious. So when next time you wake up for tahajjud, look in the mirror and say, am I patient? If you're not patient, they say, okay, maybe I should ask Allah forgiveness. I'm here with Allah in the early mornings of the early hours of the morning. I have to ask Allah to forgive me for being impatient. And I have to ask Allah to allow me to be in control and have some self-restraint and have some willpower and determination. And so now then you create a positive attitude. Yeah, you create a positive attitude, and people will then respect you for bringing positivity into your life, into their lives, and into the lives of other people that you deal with on a daily basis. And so that is now the way forward for Muslims. That obviously it has a great impact on the legal system, in institutions, and all of that. So if you were to do what you call it, training for your HR and for people in authority, CEOs, and for your workers, you're a manager, you want to train your subordinates, then you have to preach sabr. Then that's when you get productivity from your people. But if they don't have patience and they're impatient, they will not produce. Your company will not work. The country won't work. Never mind the company. Your country won't work, as I just said. So in the US, they have superior military power and economic power and all that kind of power. What they don't have is this power. What is this power? This is moral power. Power of good behavior. Civilizational value power. They don't have this. Where in the early Muslim community we had this. We were all very patient with each other. So on. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So this is one component of this now approach. It's a mindset, and you must see it as a worldview. That how do you position yourself every day in the world? This is the way. Sabr is now the foundation for you. Now, at the same time, you don't want to ask for problems and difficulties. You don't ask for that. You ask Allah for comfort and afiyat so that you're not tested. That's another mindset, that you want to think that Allah is not good and good things about Allah and so on. So that's another aqidah. Okay. So that's basically the theory of sabr that we have. The second point mentioned in hadith, that in asabathu khayrun fashakara fadhalika khayrullah, that if now something good befalls a believer and he is grateful, he has shukr and gratitude, then that is better for him. So if there's difficulty, he is patient, and that is good for him. And if there's no difficulty and something good happens, that he is now grateful. and he has shukr, which is the opposite of kufr. Kufr means to be ungrateful in the literary sense, not in the Sharia, Aqidah sense. In the literal sense of the word kufr, which is being ungrateful, ingratitude, that you never thank Allah, you never thank people, never show respect to people for anything that they do, and so on. So then the Prophet ﷺ, in your mind and in your world view, you must have shukr right in front of you at all times. So you must thank Allah, you must thank the believers who help you, you must thank everybody who is now supporting you, taking care of you, and so on. So that is now shukr. Gratitude goes a long way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, then I will increase the ni'mah. I will increase the ni'mah. What is the lowest form of gratitude? You say, Jazakallah, to somebody who's done even the smallest favor for you, so that you show your gratitude. The Prophet ﷺ said, Man lam yashkurin nas, lam yashkurillah. Whoever does not thank people does not thank Allah. So being grateful to people for what they do for you is being grateful to Allah for Allah bringing that person to you. So if you want gratitude and you have a good opinion about people, now you should not be holier than thou, high and mighty. I don't need to thank him, he's my subordinate, he's supposed to do this anyway. I said, no. It is true he may or she may have to do this anyway, but your gratitude, your shukr will go a long way to reinforcing the relationship and encouraging the person and making the person more grateful towards you, so they have now more favors to give and more gratitude, and they have now a better sense of duty and commitment to you and to whatever it is that you need. Okay. So you must have this in you, that you must say Jazakallah, because saying Jazakallah means you have a mindset, you have a worldview, that somebody gave me something and I reciprocate by showing my gratitude. And being holy, that I don't need to thank anybody, I need to thank Allah. And that's wrong, because the Prophet ﷺ now neutralized that by saying, if you don't thank people, you don't thank Allah. Okay, so you can't be holier than that. So, I don't need to thank you. He's a simpleton anyway, so what's he going to do? So the Quran, Sunnah say, no, any favor that comes to you, you must appreciate it by, number one, seeing it as a ni'mah from Allah, and then appreciating the means by which the ni'mah comes. So you must respect the means, and you must respect the convention. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now brings you a car, and somebody gives you the car as a gift, and then you can't say that Allah gave me the gift, it's not him, Allah was using his, but you have to respect the convention Allah uses. Otherwise that is kufr, kufran ni'mah, that is being ungrateful, for which you are severely punished. وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ, Allah says after that ayah, Inna adhabi lashadid. If you are ungrateful, then my punishment is severe. So gratitude increases the ni'mah, and ingratitude decreases the ni'mah. So you must have this as a worldview, as a mindset, as an approach in life, that I have to show my appreciation, gratitude for Allah's ni'mah. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever ni'mah you have, it is from Allah. Aisha radiallahu anha was drinking water once, and the Prophet said that you'll be asked about this ni'mah. So Aisha said, really, we're going to be asked about water? So yes, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Then you'll most certainly be questioned about the ni'mah Allah gives you. And this is a ni'mah, water is a ni'mah. So you must show your gratitude by saying Alhamdulillah and so on. So that's how microscopic the Prophet ﷺ now disciplined the Sahaba. He's saying this to his wife, that you're drinking water, you must say Alhamdulillah, show gratitude to Allah. So, oh, hey, well, what's the big deal? It's just a glass of water. He says, no, it is a big deal. It's a very big deal. So don't overlook any ni'mah and don't assume that Allah gives anyway. Maybe He doesn't give you. So, God forbid, Allah save us, protects us all. If you were in your deathbed and you're not able to drink even a drop of water, then think about that. God forbid, Allah keep us and preserve us from that situation, all of us, inshallah. But I'm saying that it might be a time when you will not be able to, even if the water is there, you won't be able to drink. Okay, so where is that ni'mah? So now you have to thank Allah so that Allah maintains and increases His ni'mah for you at all times, especially when you need it. And so on. And that's important. And then obviously appreciating the means by which the ni'mah comes is now very Islamic. It's not shirk. So you mustn't go, oh, the tawheed is there. No, that's not how we do this. We appreciate the means by which Allah facilitates life. So we say Jazakallah, we say thank you. And then you could also reciprocate by giving that person some gift. And so on. Giving gifts to each other is perfectly normal, perfectly Islamic. And so we shouldn't have this holier than thou attitude towards giving gifts to our loved ones. Tahaddu, tahabbu. The Prophet ﷺ said that give each other gifts and increase your mahabbah and love for each other, because by giving gifts it will create a mindset and a value in that recipient's mind. This person is gracious, this person is generous, and that will create love and mahabbah amongst Muslims, which is the, result of a good community. The result of a good community that we appreciate everybody, and we want everybody to appreciate us and so on. So that is a healthy community, not something that's in disorder. So now you must not be ungrateful to anybody and appreciate everybody's ni'mah. That is the way of the Sunnah, that is the way of the Sahaba, and that is the way Muslims have always been. They've always reciprocated, as we see in our culture, that we are always usually the first one to offer food. If there's food, then we will be the ones to share and accommodate and value the idea of giving and so on. Okay. So this is now shukr. So shukr goes a very long way into being close to Allah, being close to the Rasul, being close to people. Yeah, there was a non-Muslim who went to, Hercules, Syria, and there he was asked about now this is a mushrik. This guy who's there with the emperor, the non-Muslim emperor, Hercules, Herakl. He's being questioned by this emperor. What do you say about this person who claims to be a Nabi? This guy's a mushrik. He doesn't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this one, he said that I believe he's an honest man and he has good ethics and good morals. And the emperor accepted. Good. When the news came to the Prophet ﷺ that a mushrik from Mecca said good things about me, he reciprocated the Prophet ﷺ, and he made dua for him, and he gave him his thanks. This is a mushrik. He wasn't holy in that snotty guy. He's a mushrik and he's a kafir, he's going to hell, so why do I need to thank him? But the Prophet ﷺ acted on his own hadith. Whoever doesn't thank people does not thank Allah. So he thanked him in public. And that comment went to that mushrik, and he was so happy that Muhammad says something good about him. He made him feel very close to him. This is now following the Sunnah. You want to be a Muslim? Then do this. Get off your high horse and be grateful for what people do for you. So even if it's a matter of the dunya and your non-Muslim employer or friends or colleagues are doing something for you, then be grateful, show your gratitude, because that is Islamic. Don't get on your high horse or whatever it is that you're riding and say, he's a kafir, what should I care? That's not the Sunnah. You should care about following the Sunnah, not your nafs. Who cares about your opinion? Who cares about your worldview? This is the Prophet's worldview, that whoever does good, we should reciprocate. And we should be the first ones to thank, not the last ones. So there, I think the adab and the akhlaq and the ethics and the moral and the values that the Prophet ﷺ brought to humanity, they are second to none. And we follow all of his values and all of his normal behavior. So then the Prophet ﷺ said that if now something good happens to a believer and he is now with shukr, فَشَكَرَ, he is grateful, فَذَلِكَ خَيْرُ لَهُ, so that is also good for him. So when he is patient, it is good for him, and when he is grateful, it is good for him. عَجِبْتُ مِنْ شَأْنِ الْمُؤْمِنِ, I am amazed by the affair of a believer. كُلُّهُ خَيْرٌ, all of his affairs are good, meaning he brought a positive attitude to human beings and human behavior. And that is how you develop mental health. That's when your community is going to be healthy mentally, because you're balanced, you have equilibrium, you know what to do, you're not imbalanced, you're not impatient and angry all the time, you're not boastful and arrogant all the time. You are in line with Allah's nizam, Allah's system. You're in line with the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now you're a healthy person. And if you're healthy, then you can do many things based on your health. So I'm saying is that the two values we have, one is sabr, which is a reaction, right? And one is shukr, which is proactive. Sabr requires a reaction. So the reaction should be patience. Now shukr requires that you engage and you do something on your own. That is proactive. So whether it's this way or that way, you're going to be with the mindset and the world view. It's a world view. It's a state. You should have this state as a believer. So when you develop values, those values become you and you become them. So now if you are a stingy person, you'll always be stingy. If you're an angry person, you'll always be angry. If you're a patient person, you'll always be patient. And if you're a generous person, you'll always be generous. So Islam came to develop the state of Muslims, that their state, their mental state should be this way. And in order to do that, you have to take on the actions required by the state. So now if you want to be a generous person, then you must be generous and give and feed and all of that. And when that becomes your second nature, then you've achieved the state. But if you don't do that, meaning you don't give zakat, you don't give sadaqah, you don't host people, and you're not grateful to people, then you'll never develop the state of being a grateful person or a generous person. So that is how Sharia works. That Sharia wants you to do all of these amal and all of these deeds so that it becomes normal for you. So you normalize your behavior by copying the Prophet. For the Prophet, he is normally, naturally, seamlessly generous. He would never think twice. So that's what we need to do. That from the action, we make it into a noble state of mind, a worldview. This is how I should be. And once Muslims had the worldview, then you have civilization values. As Muslims, we don't do this. Or as Muslims, we do this. That's when you have the ummah. But if you're going around, la hawla, you've been to fundraisers, right? You've all been to fundraisers? Yeah. How difficult is it for Muslims to give? How long does it take for the fundraiser to collect money? You spend, what, an hour there? He's shouting, he's screaming, he's encouraging. Why do you need to do that? If the Muslim state was that they're generous, you won't need to do that. But since we're stingy, we need to force people to give. So that's not a good sign, that people are there and they're fundraising like crazy, and then even after that they don't give. Meaning that before in the Ummah, the Prophet said, I need funds. All the Sahaba compassion. Out of gratitude for Islam and the name of Islam and for the Prophet. They won't think twice. Uthman radiallahu anhu, the Prophet said that the people in Medina, the Muslims, the Jews were monopolizing the wells in Medina. The Jews. Nothing's new, right? Same old, same old. The Prophet really wanted Muslims to be now at ease. So Uthman, who's a generous man, a rich man, he bought a well from the Jewish owner and said, I want to buy this well off you. And he charged him double, the Jew. Uthman said, it doesn't matter, I'm going to buy the well. So with his money, he bought the well and he gave Muslims drink from the well free of charge. You can see how big a sadaqah this is. But he didn't think twice about it. What I'm saying, it was a natural state of generosity. It wasn't enforced. The Prophet didn't go and beg to Uthman, you are a rich man, Allah's give you some. He said, this is what we need, then here you go. That should be the state where you do things based on your nature or your second nature, and you do it seamlessly. And they all did this. They all did at the time of Tabuk. I'll finish with this. That the Prophet said to the Sahaba, I need every Muslim to participate in this preparation for this war against the Byzantines. No, they had to go to Tabuk, all the way outside of the Jazeera, almost. And it was a very difficult time for Muslims. So everybody participated. Everybody, all Muslims. So one man came. He was crippled. In fact, he was walking on one leg. The other leg wasn't working. He came. And then the Prophet ﷺ knew that he was crippled. And he gave some dates. So the Prophet ﷺ, how did you earn these dates? He said, well, I worked in a field. So how did you work in a field? You can barely stand. How do you work? He said, no. I stood on one leg and I did the labor, and then this is the wage I got at the end of the day, and I'm giving you all this wage to you in these dates. The Prophet ﷺ sprinkled all the dates and all the funds he collected. He said, these dates will be the means of barakah for everything, for all the Muslims. But he didn't think twice. The Sahabi who was crippled, he didn't think twice about doing the work. He wasn't whining. He wasn't complaining, oh, I have to do this. The Prophet wants us to donate, so I'm going to donate. So now, that's how you do fundraising. By creating a group of people who will donate because they love Allah and the Rasul. Not because they found the fundraising dinner to be great. We complain about that too. I say that's not the way. There's no barakah in that. I'm saying that we have to change the attitude. Now, if you go to any masjid, invariably on any Friday, I don't know if you do it here, On any Friday, people from the masjid will get up and say, we need money for the expenses. And everybody gets up. And they shout, and they say, we need money for expenses. Oh, this disgusting behavior. How do you need people in the masjid to donate to the masjid so that the masjid can pay the bills? That should not happen in the Muslim community. And then on top of that, all the Muslims say, oh, we're good. We do salat, we do this. We're a good Muslim community. And you say, you're not good. Half of your masajid, they're bankrupt. And who's in charge of the masjid? The people who attend Jummah, they're in charge of the masjid. They should take care of it. That is their responsibility, but they can't take care of it because they're conjus. They're bakhil. They don't see that as their responsibility. So somebody else will pitch in and give $100 or $200. I'm not going to do anything because I'm too busy, because I need $200 to go to a restaurant on the weekend. What I'm saying is that until the value becomes normal in the person and the personality of the Muslim, we have a lot of work to do with the ummah in terms of trying to reform the ummah. And we should stop kidding ourselves by patting ourselves on the back and say, oh, we have this or this. I'm saying that we must do what the Sahaba did, and that is they did everything because they love Allah and they love the Rasul, and they did it willingly, and they did not wait for others to participate. They wanted to participate, and they gave. And that is how you develop an ummah. And that is when you develop an ummah, then it's easy. Then you have mental health, mental stability. The ummah is good, you think good, you live good, you behave good. Everything is kulluhu khair. Ajibtu min sha'nil mu'min. Everything about the mu'min is khair, meaning he will bring khair into a difficult situation by being patient, and he will bring khair into a good situation by being grateful. That is now the remedy of the Prophet ﷺ for the Muslims, that if you truly want to engage in building the community and building yourself at a micro level, that does your wife vouch that you are a good person? Do your children vouch you're a good person? Does your neighbor say you're a good person? Does your employee say you're a good person? Do your subordinates say you're a good person? So that is the value of now people. That people are there to show you where you are failing. Instead of attacking people, maybe you should listen to them. Hey, yeah, maybe there's something wrong with me. So I'm saying is that the niyyah must be there. There's always hope, obviously. Through the words of the Prophet, there's always hope. What I'm saying is that we need to do much more than what we're doing at the moment in terms of adapting these values so that we gain mental health. Mental health is very essential. But mental health only comes if we incorporate the values of the Sunnah in our lives. Anyway, Jazakumullah khair. I'll stop here. Any questions? Yes.
Maybe a very basic question. I'm really sorry because I really have very limited knowledge. So really appreciate you helping us with that. My understanding of the word, when you say that kufr is kind of opposite to the word shukr, but when we refer one of the word in Quran, it says kafir, which comes from kufr. My understanding is that, which is basically the unbeliever. Is that correct understanding? So shukr, we are saying opposite is kufr, and then from kufr we get the word kafir, which is unbeliever.
Yeah, I mean that's a terminology, meaning that the Quran uses the word both in its Islamic meaning and in its literal meaning. So there's a literal meaning to kufr, which means to hide. And then by hiding the ni'mah, you're now being ungrateful. So the Quran uses both words. Inna hadaynahu as-sabila imma shakiran wa imma kafura. That ayah is there in Surah, what you call it, Dahr, that Allah guides people and man, that either he is now a shakir, meaning grateful, or he is a kafir. that he's ungrateful. So that word there in that ayah doesn't mean kafir as a non-Muslim. It's the literal meaning. So you have to know which meaning. So there are several times where the Quran uses the literal meaning of kafir. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ كَفُورًا. The insan is always very ungrateful, and so on. Yeah, but in the terminology of Islam, yes, kafir means a non-Muslim. So if it's not, proven that kafir is literal, then the Islamic meaning will apply. The question of what you call understanding how to read the Quran, basically. Any other question? Yes?
How to become like a shukr, how to increase the shukr of Allah, ni'mat of Allah, because that's very important.
How to do that?
How to increase the shukr of Allah.
You have to say Alhamdulillah, offer Salatul Shukr, do good deeds, be kind, be generous, and that's how you increase. The more you do good deeds, the more Allah increases the ni'mah. There are other ways, obviously, to be grateful for the ni'mah, and that is to apply it the way it's supposed to be applied. So if Allah has given you a certain amount of money, then use it in a good way. If Allah has given you ni'mah of the Quran, then use it, recite it. If Allah has given you the ni'mah of Islam, then practice it. Practicing Islam is the shukr of Islam. So yeah, the using something the way it's supposed to be used is now a sign of shukr. If you don't use it, then it is ingratitude, it's kufr. You're hiding the ni'mah. You don't want to hide the ni'mah. Okay. So Muslims who don't practice Islam, they're hiding Islam. So they're not in the state of shukr, as a general rule. Okay. If somebody has, mashallah, a very nice car and they hide the car in the garage and they don't ride it, that is not shukr. So Allah's given you a car, then ride it in a good way, obviously. So Allah wants to see the effect of His ni'mah on His servant. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ أَن يُرَى أَثَرُ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَى عَبْدِهِ. Allah wants to see the effect of His ni'mah on His servant. So Allah has given you something, then if Allah has given you a good amount of wealth, then use it in a good way where you have good clothing, good food, good life. So that's not kufr, that is shukr. Without being boastful and without being conceited, without being arrogant, and so on. So that's one. Likewise with the ni'mah of Islam, the way to increase Islam is to act on it, practice it. Put it into a kind of the dunya. Say, this is Islam, I'm happy that I'm Muslim. It's an attitude. So the more you practice Islam, the more Islam will come to you. So Allah will increase your Islam. And so on. So the way to effectively manage any ni'mah is to put it into use. The way Sharia says, use it. And don't abuse it. And so if Allah has given you wealth and you squander it and you abuse it, and you do haram things with it, that's also kufran al-ni'mah. You're hiding the ni'mah, and that is not good either. But if you have a ni'mah, show it, express it, enjoy it, and give it its due. The due would be the zakat of that ni'mah. Okay. Yes?
Is there any limit of sabr or limit of shukr?
There's no limit on shukr. Sabr, yes, you have to be careful that you don't go overboard. You have to manage the problem. If you have a problem, then you mustn't be fatalistic and say, Jo ho gaya. No, manage it, correct it, rectify it, remedy. That's part of the sabr. The thing about sabr is that you mustn't whine and complain. Allah has given me this problem, this problem. That's what sabr is. But if you do have a problem, you have to rectify it, take care of it, manage it. So sabr, yeah, sabr can be, very trying. That's why the Prophet didn't want Muslims to ask for sabr. He wanted Muslims to ask for afiyah and comfort where they're not tested. So, but if you are tested, then be patient. Yes?
Sheikh, when Allah has placed as you're suggesting that we should be thankful for that and then make good use of that as well. How do we differentiate that, okay, we are really thankful and not doing the israf part of that, because doing israf is not really a good thing as well, right? Showing off things or something.
Doing islah?
Israf, like,
Israf.
yeah.
Yeah, israf, obviously, you have to, again, contain yourself and make sure you don't do things out of arrogance and pride and showing off and conceit, where you're looking at others and say, they don't have anything, I have everything. So that arrogance is haram. Mocking others because they don't have, and feeling that you are better than them because you have and they don't have, that's haram. But you can use the money any which way you want to. It's extravagance, obviously, will be that you don't show off what you have, and you are grateful for Allah that you have. And you use it in a kind of, what do you call it, a way that shows that you are humble also. Where it's not showmanship, upmanship, and condemning others that they don't have and I have. So that's wrong. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you all. We'll see you in 3 weeks. There's no session for the next 2 weeks. I'll be out of town. The 3rd week, inshallah, I'll be here. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa